Hey everyone, wanted to take a second and talk about this. The Commission for All Things Corona, I can't remember what they're called, but they've been tasked with how do we come out of this and how do we move forward. And they've laid out kind of a 5-step plan. Well, step 5 has to do with how do we prevent this from ever happening again. This being whatever the next pandemic is going to be. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I don't think that you're going to be able to prevent the next pandemic from happening. This has happened through all of history. From time to time, a virus shows up and moves through a population. We can argue about how this virus showed up and could we keep something like that from happening again, but even naturally, viruses mutate and turn into something different and then move through a population. So how do we keep this from happening again? This is ill-defined, right? How do we keep the panic from happening again? How do we keep the fear? How do we keep the economic collapse from happening again? Not what I'm talking about today. I think there's a lot to talk about, but I'm not talking about today. How do we keep the illness from wreaking the havoc that it can and that it has this time? We don't have really any good medications for viruses. We have antibiotics for bacterial illnesses. We don't have medications for viruses, really. So we rely on vaccines. If you take the flu vaccine as an example, not incredibly effective, right? So it's not like, oh, if we just get the vaccine, all of this goes away. I know that's what you keep hearing. But then we wouldn't have the flu because we've had the flu vaccine for years. Viruses mutate. They're hard to keep up with. The vaccines aren't always up to date. This particular vaccine is going to be rushed to market very quickly. Who knows if it's going to be any good or not, right? We just don't know. Maybe it's awesome. I don't know. But that's the thing, we don't know. So I wouldn't hold my breath and plan on that as being your salvation. So what do we do? What it really comes down to, and what nobody except people like me, people in my space, are talking about this and getting banned for it, unfortunately. But what nobody's really talking about in an official capacity is get healthy. Everybody talks about wash your hands and wear a mask and, wait for the vaccine and hide at home and all this stuff. Different strategies we can argue about a different day, or if you ask questions, we'll talk about it. But generally, the healthier I am, the more resistant I am to getting substantially sick with a virus like this. Will I still catch it? Sure, it will still move through the population, but I want to be one of the people that gets it and shows no symptoms. That would be awesome, right? Get it, maybe you feel a little sick for a couple of days, you're puny, you cough a little bit, and then it moves on. But you're not the vulnerable one. So the healthier I am, the better I keep my house in order, the more resistant I am. Now I can do that for me, I can do that for my family. I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can do that for my patients. Right, so I can affect a larger number of people, but you can affect you and your family. And if enough of us do that, we get healthier people, healthier families, healthier communities, so that when this virus hits your community, it doesn't devastate your community. It doesn't overwhelm your hospitals. The hospital staff can continue working. If we did this as a nation, this doesn't have to happen again. One of our biggest problems is our food supply is horrible. We have so adulterated our food supply. We don't have nutritive food. We don't have rich, wholesome topsoil anymore to even grow the foods. Even if you go to the grocery store and buy organic spinach, it was grown in topsoil that's likely depleted of most of its nutrients and most of its minerals. We have so degraded our food supply from about the 1930s to now, with all of the processing and industrial agriculture that we've had. We aren't nourished. If some politician would get up there and say, look, we need a revolution. Enrich the topsoil. Everybody needs to farm like organic farmers, bioregenerative or biodynamic farming. We need to have microbes in the soil and nutrients in the soil so our plants are healthier, so either the animals that eat the plants are healthier, or so that our people that eat the plants are healthier. Like, we need to rebuild our food supply from the ground up so that we start out well nourished and then move on from there. I mean, the reason I take supplements is because our food sucks. If our food was what it was 150 years ago, I probably wouldn't need to take supplements like I do. So when people like me talk about this, if I'm not careful, people say, oh my gosh, he's saying that nutrition is a cure for corona, or he's saying that supplements can cure corona. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if we were healthy enough, things like corona wouldn't be a big deal. The annual flu wouldn't be a big deal. But we're diabetic, we're overweight, we're inflamed, we have heart disease and high blood pressure. And our answer to that is give drugs. Our answer is not go back and fix the fundamental problem. We will never get out of this with drugs, right? This whole sick society, vulnerable society, overweight, overpressured, oversugared, over-insulin society, we're not going to get out of that with drugs. It requires good quality food and good quality health education, not health education that teaches people to do their drugs. You know, go see your doctor, get your vaccinations, take your medications when you're told to, and you'll be healthy. No, you won't show signs of being sick. But are you healthy? You've got to build that from inside, and that's fundamental stuff like eating the foods we're supposed to eat, moving the way we're supposed to move, sleeping the way we're supposed to sleep, getting sun exposure like we're supposed to get. That's how you get and stay healthy. And when you are, you're much more resistant to issues like this. So we need to rebuild our health by rebuilding agriculture. Find a farmer's market, find the regenerative farmer near you, the one that actually composts and enriches the topsoil and grows food the way it's supposed to be grown and delivers it fresh to the farmer's market. That's how you get healthy. That's how we avoid the next one of these. So regardless of what you're told by people that are paid by the pharmaceutical companies, regardless of the marketing out there that science is gonna save us, the science of how to farm like we did 200, 300 years ago, that's what's gonna save us if we do it. The problem is we won't. The money doesn't push that way. Do it yourself. Farm in your backyard. Start a garden. They have grow boxes that are self-watering and can grow a bunch of food in one box, right? Put 2 or 3 of those on your patio if you're in an apartment. Do something to enrich your food supply, to grow food that's nutrient dense. If you want to hear more about it, let me know. Contact a master gardener near you. Find somebody that does proper agriculture and learn from them. Harvest Hills Ranch is one not too far from us that does that. Three Sister Farms does that. There are several around here that practice appropriate agriculture. But if we want to avoid being a vulnerable society for something like this, my opinion, that's how we avoid it. That's how we don't run into this moving forward. Will we have the panic? Sure. The media loves to push it, and a lot of people make money on the panic, whether it's warranted or not. So the panic's going to be there. The fear will be driven, especially now that they realize what they can accomplish with it. Whether it's legitimate or not next time, who knows? Whether it's legitimate or not this time, we'll find out in a couple months. But if you personally want to feel less vulnerable, if you want your family to be less vulnerable, if you want your community to be less vulnerable, you've got to put good stuff in here, and you've got to live a good, clean life. You got to live like we're supposed to. Get off the sugar, don't overdo the alcohol. By golly, quit smoking, quit vaping. I mean, come on. Go get some blood tests. Talk to someone who does functional medicine. Your regular family doctor doesn't know much about health. They generally know a lot about medicine. They don't know a lot about health. Talk to somebody, get a health coach, get a nutritionist, do something to get your own house in order. And that is how we stop the next one. Let me know what you think. Let me know how off base you think I am, or how right you think I am. Share it. Let's get a conversation going. But grassroots like this is how we're going to change this. All right? Let me know what you think. Otherwise, have a good one.